Good morning and welcome to 7 at 7 from the Economic Times podcasts, a daily financial news capsule to get you clued in for the day. I am Bhaskar Datta. For markets across the globe, the major event this week is the Jackson Hole Economic Symposium in Wyoming. Following the turmoil that was unleashed by a weak US employment report earlier this month, global investors have their eyes peeled for signs on whether the Federal Reserve will cut rates as early as next month. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell will speak at Jackson Hole later this week. Ahead of his speech, the US dollar fell to a 7-month low, while the yen strengthened, Reuters reported. If one way to gauge a country's economic health is to look at the performance of its corporate sector, well, the news from home isn't all that great. Earnings downgrades by companies touched their highest in the April-June quarter since the first quarter of FY21. And remember, that was when COVID had battered almost every industry in the country. Refinitiv data, analyzed by ET, showed a total of 393 companies downgraded their earnings for the rest of the year. These include JSW Steel, Ambuja Cements, Tata Steel, Titan, and Indian Oil. There were 247 upgrades too, including BHEL, Trent, Kotak Bank and Bajaj Finserv. While this is indicative of demand moderation, experts have provided some reassurance by saying that by and large, this could be a temporary blip in India's overall growth story. And well, there are always silver linings in India stories. The Adani Group's net profit in the first quarter surged nearly 50% to over 10,000 crore rupees, helped mostly by its relatively new businesses, solar, airports and roads. Elsewhere, a Bernstein report predicted profitability in 2027 for Paytm. Turning from corporates to banks, India's lenders are on a borrowing spree. Borrowings by banks through certain kinds of market instruments crossed the rupees 9 lakh crore mark in the previous fortnight to touch a new high, Reserve Bank of India data showed. Over the past couple of years, banks have faced pressure to raise funds as the pace of deposit growth has been much slower than credit growth. So what are the options for banks? Well, either they raise deposit rates and take a hit on their margins, or they borrow funds through other methods. It must be noted that the slower deposit growth has India's policymakers worried. On Monday, the finance minister asked public sector banks to conduct special drives to mobilize people to deposit more money, while RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das has been telling banks to be innovative when it comes to garnering funds. Talking of worried policymakers, RBI officials have again sounded warnings about high food inflation, which has emerged as a bugbear for both consumers and the central bank over the past year. In an article co-authored by RBI Deputy Governor Michael Patra, central bank officials said that monetary policy must act in order to clamp down on inflationary pressures that spill over from food to other components. This suggests that rate cuts by the RBI may be some time away yet. One conglomerate which hasn't been in the news of late is the Shapoorji Pallonji Group. Well, that's changing because the group has formed a new holding company, Shapoorji Pallonji Real Estate, to consolidate its real estate holdings spread across key cities and plans to monetize assets by taking it public soon. The assets are said to be worth rupees 50,000 crore. In the deal space, a host of PE funds, KKR and TPG Capital, are evaluating a purchase of India's largest cardiac stent maker, Sahajanand Medical Technologies, valuing the company at about 3,500 to 4,000 crore rupees. Elsewhere, a fund established by former US Vice President Al Gore's Generation Investment Management has invested $150 million in Continuum Green Energy, founded by IIM Ahmedabad classmates Arvind Bansal and Vikash Saraf. That's all for today. Thank you very much for tuning in to 7 at 7 from the Economic Times podcast.